Olympus E-M1 Mark II. The OMD E-M1 has always represented the pinnacle of Olympus Micro Four Thirds portfolio. In fact, it was the first camera from the company that came with phase detection autofocus, an anti-aliasing filter-less sensor, focus peaking and higher frame rates to boot. However, in the 3 years since its introduction, other cameras have risen to prominence. The Panasonic Lumix GH4 has gained a foothold in the video sector, while Sony has impressed us with the A6000 line's laser quick-half, as well as introducing the A7 range of full-frame mirrorless cameras. Then there's Fujifilm, which along with the X-T2 is our favorite mirrorless camera to date. Now with the OMD E-M1 Mark II, Olympus is attempting to even the odds. The result is a completely overhauled camera with a higher resolution 20.4 MP sensor, greatly improved 121-point cross-type F system, and enhanced in-body image stabilization, plus 4K video and Olympus' best video shooting features to date. These improvements come with a necessarily higher $1,999 or £1,849, about $2,610 Australian dollars, price tag for the camera body alone, whereas the first OMD E-M1 originally retailed for $1,399, £1,299, $1,599 Australian dollars. While it's an unattractive price point for the enthusiast, casual photographers Olympus usually attracts, it's clear the company aims to cater to the needs of professional photographers with this fully featured camera and a growing line of pro lenses, several of which were announced alongside the initial debut of the E-M1 Mark II. The OMD E-M1 Mark II is the second camera to feature Olympus' new 20.4 MP sensor since its debut in the PIN-F. While the resolution is the same, Olympus has tweaked the image sensor for better noise reduction as well as now incorporating 121 cross-type F on-chip phase detection points spread across the entire frame. The company claims the autofocus system is completely new and programmed with a new algorithm tuned for better tracking. Overall, we find the Mark II to be even more accurate and faster than ever when it comes to autofocusing, and speediness really is one word to describe the new E-M1. The higher resolution 2.36 m.TVF now operates at a maximum 120 frames per second with a delay of only 5 ms. This upgraded viewfinder pairs well with a 30% reduced shutter lag, and with Olympus' new Pro Capture mode, which is designed to capture split-second moments. Of course, if you want to slow things down, the OMD E-M1 2 can oblige there as well. Its enhanced on-sensor image stabilization system now offers 5.5 stops of shake reduction. The OMD E-M1 Mark II is also Olympus' first camera to offer 4K UHD, 3840 by 2160, video recording at 30, 25 or 24 fps. What's more, the Japanese camera company is leapfrogging over Sony and Panasonic by being the first to introduce Cinema 4K, which captures 4096 by 2060 pixel footage, a slightly wider aspect ratio than the traditional 16:9 frame, at a bitrate of up to 237 Mbps. At first glance, the OMD E-M1 Mark II looks almost identical to its predecessor. Almost nothing about the camera's look has changed aside from a slightly taller chassis and mode dial. Whereas the Mark II versions of both the E-M5 and E-M10 featured dramatically redesigned grips and dials, Olympus has stuck with almost the same ergonomics on its flagship camera. While the aesthetics are very similar, the E-M1 Mark II is actually both larger and heavier than the Mark I. The new camera measures 134.1 by 68.9 by 90.9 mm, WXDXH, and weighs 544 grams with the battery and memory card included, which is noticeably bulkier than the original 130.4 by 93.5 by 63.1 mm E-M1, which tipped the scales at 497 grams. Despite the increase in size, the extra weight of the E-M1 Mark II doesn't become an issue when shooting with it over a full day. We also prefer the beefed-up proportions of the new E-M1, as it can better support larger Micro Four Thirds lenses such as the recent Mzuiko 25mm f/1.2 and Mzuiko 12-100mm f/4. Thanks to being taller, the Mark II also feels and looks a little less awkwardly squat than the original version. The larger dimensions make way for an additional SD card slot and a larger battery. Sorry, veteran Olympus users, your old batteries won't work with this new camera. but on the plus side the new cells offer 37% more capacity at 1,720 mAh power. As with Olympus' other OMD cameras, the updated E-M1 has traded its tilting screen for one that also swivels out to the side, offering a wider range of possible positions to angle it at. In hand, the E-M1 Mark II feels completely solid while still being smaller than most mirrorless cameras. Fashioned entirely out of magnesium alloy, the E-M1 Mark II is as tough as a tank despite having a more svelte form than the bulbous Panasonic Lumix GH4. Furthermore, this MFT shooter is fully weather sealed against rain, dust and freezing, to 14 degrees Fahrenheit, -10 degrees Celsius, and we can say the camera lives up to these claims. Whether it was peanut-sized hail or freezing rain, the E-M1 Mark II just kept on shooting, even in the most punishing storms of Iceland, where we tested the camera. For the most part the dials and buttons of the original E-M1 have stayed firmly in their place except for the menu button, which now sits directly above the playback button to make way for a notch to access the flexible LCD screen. Olympus has also raised the four-way buttons on the back of the camera to make them easier to press, even with a pair of gloves on. We wish it would have done the same with the OK button buried in the middle of the four-way interface, as it's used often to access the quick settings in the Super Control panel.